In 1949, a man died in Paris, taking with him the most closely guarded secret about human nature. His name was George Ivanovich Gurdjieff, and he spent his life proving that 99% of humanity lives in a state of deep sleep, even while awake. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself why you sometimes act completely automatically? Why you repeat the same patterns, the same reactions, as if you were a programmed robot? Gurdjieff discovered something disturbing about this, and what he found will forever change the way you see yourself. Imagine a man who abandoned everything, family, career, comfort, to travel to the most remote places on Earth in search of a single answer. Why do human beings live like unconscious machines? This man was George Ivanovich Gurdjieff. Born in the late 19th century, he wasn't an ordinary philosopher sitting in a library. He was an obsessive seeker, an investigator of human consciousness. Kings, famous artists, renowned writers, they all sought out Gurdjieff, not for fame or money, but because he possessed something they desperately wanted, the key to awakening from the sleep of ordinary life. For years, Gurdjieff traveled through Tibet, Afghanistan, Persia, living with dervishes, monks, and spiritual masters. And in each place, he asked the same devastating question: how can a human being truly awaken? What he discovered was both simple and terrifying. Most people, according to Gurdjieff, are not really alive. They function in what he called cosmic sleep, a state where you think you're conscious, but you're actually just automatically reacting to external stimuli. Think for a moment. How many times today did you act without really thinking? How many conversations did you have on autopilot? How many decisions did you make simply because that's how it's always been? Gurdjieff would say those weren't really your choices. They were just automatic programming, functioning. He discovered that we have different centers operating within us: the intellectual center, the emotional center, and the moving center. But here's the shocking part. Most of the time, these centers are completely uncoordinated, working against each other like a house divided against itself. Think about the last time you were angry. Your emotional center was firing, but was your intellectual center really present? Or when you're stuck in endless thoughts, your mind racing, are you really feeling anything, or just trapped in mental loops? Gurdjieff observed that people live their entire lives in this fragmented state, never experiencing what he called presence, that moment when all your centers work together in harmony. This is what he meant when he said we live asleep. But here's where it gets even more disturbing. Gurdjieff didn't just say we're asleep. He said we're convinced we're awake. We have elaborate stories about our choices, our consciousness, our free will. But if you really observe yourself throughout the day, you'll start to see the uncomfortable truth. Most of your actions are completely mechanical. You wake up and check your phone, mechanical. You have the same breakfast, mechanical. You react to that email the same way you always do, mechanical. You get triggered by the same things, respond with the same patterns, think the same thoughts. Where is the real you in all of this? This is what Gurdjieff called the terror of the situation. We think we're individuals, but we're really just collections of habits, reactions, and mechanical behaviors that we've mistaken for our true selves. But Gurdjieff didn't leave people in despair. He brought back from his travels a practical method for awakening. He called it self-remembering, or the remembrance of being. Here's how it works. Right now, as you're listening to this, can you simultaneously be aware that you are listening? Not just lost in the content, but aware that you are the one receiving this information? This is the beginning of self-remembering, catching yourself in the act of being conscious. Gurdjieff taught that throughout the day. We can practice this. Divided attention. Part of your attention on what you're doing, part of your attention on the fact that you are doing it. This simple practice begins to wake you up from the mechanical dream. He also taught what he called the stop exercise. At random moments throughout the day, internally say stop and freeze exactly as you are. Notice your posture, your facial expression, your internal state. Most people are shocked to discover they have no idea how they were holding themselves or what they were really feeling. Another powerful technique was observing your chief feature, the main mechanical pattern that runs your life. For some people, it's always needing to be right. For others, it's people-pleasing. For others, it's avoiding confrontation. Once you identify your chief feature, you can begin to catch it in action instead of being unconsciously driven by it. But here's the key insight that made Gurdjieff's work so revolutionary. You cannot wake up accidentally. It requires what he called conscious effort and intentional suffering. You have to choose to see your mechanical nature, even when it's uncomfortable. You have to choose to stay present, even when it's easier to drift into automatic mode. Most people, Gurdjieff observed, prefer the comfort of their mechanical sleep to the responsibility of being truly awake. Because when you're really conscious, you can no longer blame your reactions on other people or circumstances. You become responsible for your inner state. This is why Gurdjieff said that awakening is not for everyone. It requires what he called magnetic center, a genuine hunger for truth that is stronger than your desire for comfort. The question is, do you have that hunger? Are you tired enough of living mechanically to do something about it? Or are you content to continue in the sleep of automatic living, convinced that your mechanical reactions are your true self? Gurdjieff died in 1949, but his question remains as relevant today as ever, perhaps more so in our age of constant distraction and digital autopilot. Every notification, every scroll through social media, every unconscious reaction pulls us deeper into mechanical sleep. But the possibility remains. In any moment, you can choose to remember yourself. You can choose to be present. You can choose to wake up from the dream of mechanical living and discover what it really means to be alive. The question Gurdjieff left us with is simple but profound. Are you really living, or are you just functioning on autopilot? The answer to that question might just change everything. As Gurdjieff once said, man can die without ever having truly lived. The choice of whether that happens to you is entirely in your hands.